Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Chris Guerin with Splan. Just going to give everybody another minute or two. I still see people jumping on, so we will get started in the next few minutes. Once again, if you've already joined, thank you so much. All right, we're going to get started. Well, welcome to today's webinar. It should be exciting and a lot to cover. We're going to get this done in about 30 minutes. Um, this is visitor management for utilities and really understanding NERC CIP compliance with identification and monitoring. I am Chris Guerin, the VP of Sales, and joining me is Bill Holbert, our sales engineer. He's going to take you live into the software as we move through this. So that's the introduction. Once again, we're going to talk about NERC CIP compliance. What is it, right? What are the challenges? And how can Splan and help adhere to that compliance? And then we'll have Q&A at the end. And once again, I will remind all attendees, if you have any questions, please post them in the question section, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. So let's get started. So what is NERC CIP compliance? A lot of people still don't know what that is. It's really the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, and they set standards to safeguard our power grid. And there's 14 standards. Most people don't know that there's 14. 11 of them carry significant fines if not adhered to. And a crucial part of these standards is visitor management and knowing who's coming in and out of the facility. The whole key to this is to ensure proper control and oversight of anyone entering the facility critical to our electric grid. And we're going to go through some of those, and I'm going to move through this a little quick, but visitor management touches multiple standards. So we're going to go through some of those that are most crucial. So CIP 02 talks about critical cyber assets. Once again, visitor management, the impact is it ensures that visitors do not have unauthorized access to critical assets or areas within the facility. 03 talks about controls and policies, right? Visitor management require procedures to control and monitor visitor access, including tracking who visits and ensuring that protocols are met all the time, every time. 04 is security awareness and training, right? Visitor management platforms ensure that personnel, including those who may interact with visitors, are aware of security practices as it relates to visitors, right? Splan keeps them on track with the check-in process. It's repetitive. We make sure we do the same thing every time, right? 05 is security perimeters, right? Visitors must not have unauthorized access to the perimeter or the cyber assets. We make sure of that. Once again, going into 06, physical security of critical cyber assets. This involves procedures for controlling access, including visitor logs, access badges, and escorting visitors within secured areas. And you're going to hear escorts brought up a lot and shown today by Bill, right? Escorts are required when visitors are provided access, but they're not yet authorized. So we must have a escort at all times. And you must record that escort and have audit trails of that. Splan can do that for you. Security system management is 07. It requires controls to prevent visitors from affecting the security of other systems. And once again, this has to do with tracking, logs, who's got access into what portion of the facility. Incident response management, right? Not all visitor managements have mustering. It includes the procedures for responding to incidents involving visitors, such as unauthorized access or breaches. Splan has got an in-depth mustering platform. CIP 09 talks about recovery plans, right? What do we do if we do have a critical issue? How do we recover procedures if visitor-related incidents affect critical assets, right? How do we have that historical data? How do we get back online? So that kind of goes over some of the most common standards that, as we can see, visitor management reaches across multiple standards. So what are some of the most common challenges when deploying NIP certification and compliance and standards? It's access control complexities. Access control systems these days, they can do a lot, but they're very complex. And how do we manage it? Security protocol enforcement, right? We've seen this throughout multiple verticals. How and what do we do when we have a security protocol issue? How do we enforce it? Data privacy concerns, right? How do we make sure that the information that we're obtaining is secure, right? SPLAN is encrypted not only at transit, but at rest. Training and awareness. We offer a complete training manual and module with continued education, right? Integrated with existing systems, right? We end up having all these disparate systems. How do we overlay and try to bring all those disparate systems and integrations into one platform? Visitor verification issues. We're going to talk a lot more about that, as well as reporting and auditing. Emergency response planning. Scalability challenges, right? Not all locations move and act the same way. How do you make those configurability changes to meet those challenges? And then, of course, regulatory updates. So let's talk about the SPLAN adherence, right? We can help streamline verification. We verify visitors' identities and do it during pre-registration or at walk-up, ensuring legitimate access. Do they meet the requirements to be on site? Right? Detailed audit trails. Automatic logging captures entry and exit times, visit purpose, personal interactions, all the way down to the escort, right? Talking about escorts. The system assigns escorts or requires visitors check-in with authorized personnel. Bill's going to show you this and what this looks like. Configurable screening, right? We can integrate with background check systems, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute, or require additional verification for high-risk areas. This is where workflow complexities come in display with SPLAN. That's what we do very well. Based on the workflow, we can require additional information and data. Training. Once again, we deliver online training modules for our employees and contractors that show up, or visitor management protocols, right? This is what's expected. This is what you need to do while you're visiting the site. And of course, policy enforcement. This comes back to repetition, right? We talk about enforcing predefined rules and policies to maintain that adherence to NERC CIP compliance. Then there's a ton of real-time examples of NERC CIP violations, but really it all starts with unauthorized access, whether it's to equipment or areas. And how do we stop that from happening? The absence of background visitor verification of a visitor. It clearly states in NERC CIP that identity verification and at least a 7-year criminal background check history is run. You have to stay on top of that, 7 years. So we're going to talk about some of those third-party platforms that help do that. So I'm not going to dive deep into this, all that is SPLAN, but what I'm going to highlight is a few things. Obviously, visitor management, right? How we manage visitors, whether it's pre-registration, right? And a URL link in that pre-registration to capture all of that required data that we need to allow a visitor on site. To walk-ins, right? When somebody just walks in to check in, what information are we gathering to make sure that we're compliant? What's that workflow look like, right? We have a ton of notifications in the system, whether it be email, text, Teams, Slack, or a phone call. We integrate with access control, mobile credentialing. So we have the ability to give temp badges, not only for employees, but for contractors and or visitors if they're authorized. And some of the big things that I want to talk about on this page that really point to NERC CIP compliance is we call it unified badging, better known as PIAM. SPLAN can be your single source of truth in identifying badge request, right? Why did someone get an access level, right? Who determined that? Is it the correct access level? SPLAN can manage that process from hire to retire and everything in between. Um, we have a mustering platform, right? We talked about emergency response and training. And in case of an incident, what do we do and how do we do it? How do we make sure that everyone's accounted for? SPLAN has a beautiful mustering platform. As well as the things I've just mentioned, we have a very robust product portfolio. Some of these don't really follow NERC CIP compliance, but we're going to bring it up today. We talked about visitors, right? Vendors, contractors, security insights. That is our reporting and audit log that has detailed information so that we can meet that compliance. Unified badging, mustering. But we also do desk management, event management, some vertical specific stuff with patients, schools, assets, truck management, deliveries, and multi-tenant. So SPLAN is a complete solution that can be not only NERC CIP compliant, but also cover other areas. How do we do this? We do this through some of it is through our third-party integrations. So we talked about the importance of access control integration. We integrate with over 25 access control systems. We have the ability to do multiple credentials, right? We have a wealth of cloud solutions. We use Microsoft Azure in the cloud. Once again, we are SOC 2 and ISO certified. And once again, we are fully encrypted at transit and at rest. We also integrate with some third-party emergency notification systems like Everbridge. And we have the ability, talking about cybersecurity and making sure that our guests are doing the right things. We have the ability to do guest Wi-Fi so we can keep track of our network, whether it's through Aruba or Cisco. And then the big one, when it comes back to NERC CIP compliance, is that third-party background check. We integrate with Descartes, Family Watchdog, Shufti Pro, and others. And I will tell you, if you're not aware of this, that not all background checks are created equal. There are different packages within these third party, so you can have more robust background check solutions. So the last thing I'll talk about before I turn it over to Bill, and he'll take you live into the softwares, is the multitude of ways we can get visitors in, right? We talked about pre-registration and walk-ups. How do we do that? Well, we can certainly do that at kiosk, right? We offer a number of hardware solutions for kiosk, whether it's tabletop, a freestanding, or an enterprise solution where we can also disperse a prox card. But also understand that, and Bill's going to show this, that a kiosk might not be required at all at these unmanned locations, especially in the energy vertical. We can put a QR code on the wall and they can check in from their mobile device or their iPad. So we don't have to have hardware to get people in the building while maintaining security protocol and processes and compliance. So a lot of ways that SPLAN can interact to meet NERC CIP compliance. Good job. So let's talk about the driving factors with SPLAN and how we can help meet NERC CIP compliance. Once again, we can set up policies and procedures within SPLAN based on our configurability, right? We have a lot of options of how we drive that compliance. Obviously, it's to avoid fines by allowing audit reporting, security enforcement, improved visitor experience. We can do this at a much less reduced cost because now we can get rid of all these disparate systems by rolling it under one platform. And it also meets all the legal obligations. So once again, why SPLAN? Certainly time value, right? We simplify the process. We make sure we're compliant. based on the needs of the workflow of the facility. Brand image, certainly important to a lot of our customers. Data value, once again, talking about NERC CIP compliance, data value is critical, right? They come in and do quarterly audits in some of the more heavily critical areas, especially during with energy. So we have the ability to meet that. And then, of course, security, right? Making sure the right people are allowed in and the wrong people are not. So it looks like I've got a few questions here. I'm going to read through those and see if I can answer them. It's kind of a short list, but does SPLAN offer pre-registration options for visitors, allowing facilities to verify identities and access needs before arrival? The answer is absolutely. And let's talk about that pre-registration. Once again, very configurable, right? You can send out a pre-registration that could be as simple as, hey, come see me next Wednesday, or it can be extremely detailed. Come see me next Wednesday. Here's driving instructions. Here's parking. Here's a URL link. I need you to click on this URL link and fill out all of this required data so that I gather all the information and compliant documents before the guest even arrives. So a lot of configurability in there. Once again, this was probably asked early on. Can SPLAN integrate with existing background check systems to automate security screening? The answer is yes. We can do that during pre-registration or during a walk-up. We integrate with a multitude of third-party background checks, and we also give you the flexibility. As I said, not all background checks are created equal. You have the flexibility to have certain requirements on that background check so that we do meet compliance. And here's a good one. This is the second to last one that I'm seeing. How does SPLAN's reporting functionality support NERC CIP compliance by allowing facilities to generate audit trails and visitor activities? Well, Bill showed you one way, right? We can look at an all visitors list for a date range. We can pull an escort list, right? And then we have Security Insights, which is another platform that gives you the ability to customize. I hate to use the word customize, but customize and configure specific reports to run at specific times to go to specific people based on that NERC CIP compliance. And the last one, I think this was asked on early on, and I'll kind of simplify this one. It was about escort procedures, ensuring that they were always accompanied by authorized personnel while on site. And the answer is absolutely yes, right? I show up, I'm allowed access at the site, but I'm not authorized, right? Two different things. So if I'm not authorized, NERC CIP compliance says I must be escorted. So the host would get a notification that I'm on site. They would come down. Once again, they would log in to the kiosk. They would show and check me in and showing that I'm the escort for the day. All of that history is kept. And then when it's time for me to leave, the host comes down, checks me out, and signs out. So once again, now we have the complete history trail that Billy Bob came downstairs, checked in as the escort for me at 11:32 in the morning. When I left at 2:18, he checked me out. And all of that is recorded within SPLAN, and we can run that report, as Bill showed you, in multiple formats and send that information. So once again, I told you it was going to be about a 30-minute demo, and we are there. I want to thank everyone today for their attendance. And if you would like a more detailed webinar and explanation of all that is SPLAN, please reach out to one of your regional sales reps, and they'll be more than happy to get it scheduled for you. Once again, thank you for your time today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Take care.